You guys clicked on this video because you wanted to see how I turned this California flat map in JWE2 Evolution 2 into the beautiful, very well known Yosemite National Park in California. And before we get started on this video, I would like to say, if you're not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any future parks, habitats, or builds. And like the video, it really helps out the channel, and I really appreciate it. The first thing I did was trace out the river system and decide where I wanted my main waterfall and pond to be. Unfortunately, I didn't capture this part on camera, but when the footage starts, you'll see me working on the waterfall itself and the surrounding mountains. My first attempt at the mountains honestly wasn't great, so I flattened everything back down. And I started completely from scratch to help with the scale. I placed a waterfall decoration so I knew exactly how high I needed to raise this mountain where the water source would be so that it didn't look kind of funky or like inside the mountain. Once I was happy with the waterfall, I added some vegetation around the elevated pond and then placed splash effects at the base of the falls to make them feel more believable. After that, I expanded the mountain even further because, after all, Yosemite's granite formations are absolutely massive. Like, they are huge. From there, I began building additional mountains around the pond and started painting the sides with granite rock textures while leaving some grassy sections exposed on the tops. Yosemite isn't just bare rock everywhere, so I wanted to capture that balance between stone and vegetation. Next, I worked on the shoreline itself. I wanted the banks to feel natural with gravel and small stones, but since there wasn't a true gravel with small stones kind of texture available, I used the dirt terrain instead because it had enough small looking rocks mixed in to get the look that I just wanted. Then it was time for vegetation. Now, before anyone corrects me in the comments, yes, I eventually realized that I used redwood trees across the entire map when I should have been using alpine vegetation instead. I fixed that later on in the video because I wanted this build to be as accurate as possible, but at the time I was too focused on making the landscape itself, and I was really having fun while doing this. And I didn't realize till towards the end. With that out of the way, I started I started planting forests on the right side of the mountains first, instead of tackling the entire map all at once. So I had something more, direct. So I could work on this map one thing at a time. That way it was more doable for me. With that out of the way, I started placing these trees around the right side of the map, and once I had that, and I had that area all nice and forested up with the wrong forest, the redwood forest. It didn't look bad with redwood, but it wasn't the correct biome if I added redwood. So then after I got my nice forested area over here on the right side of the mountain, after that I start making it sloped, because it wouldn't be Yosemite if it wasn't a little bit uneven. And I've messed around with the roughen tool. But yeah, there you go. You see me kind of smoothing it up, kind of like a slope, so it looks kind of like a hill almost. Well, like a hill. It is a hill! And after taking a moment to admire the progress, I immediately got back to work on another massive granite mountain with grassy peaks, similar to the others, to the right side of this kind of forested area, to give the whole map, I don't know, a sense of depth. Like, it's not just mountains in this one area, but there's mountains and hills spread across the whole map. I then lined the river with dense forests before taking a short detour to create another pond that wasn't connected to the main river system. I added granite rocks around the water and surrounded the area with trees that make it feel like a hidden alpine lake. And I'm sorry if I'm kind of explaining everything in advance before I do anything, and I'm sure you guys have noticed that, and I do apologize for that. But I lined the little pond with granite rocks, and around the water, I surrounded the area with trees to make it feel like a hidden alpine lake. Once that was finished, I continued building out the thick forest along the riverbanks. Next came a small staff and guest area for the national park. Rather than using bulky fences, I chose pine fencing to keep everything looking natural and immersive. The bottom left section of the map, however, was meant to become my wetland region. I'll be honest, wetlands in like more, what's the word? I know Yosemite's not in Central America, if that makes sense. And I struggle with creating like wetlands that are in a more like pine forested area. Because if it was a swamp or anything else like tropical, I would have no issues. I would be doing just fine. But since it was like a forest, I captured this wetlands look as best as I could without making it look bad. But I gave it my best shot. I kept reshaping the pond over and over until I finally found something that looked, right. Meanwhile, I added more forest density on the left side of the river while intentionally keeping the area near the waterfall more open because I wanted that section to serve as a large clearing. I then created additional tree lines to guide the shape and boundaries of different areas of the park and added rolling hills throughout the forest to make everything feel more realistic. So I add rolling hills here. There you go. After that, I built a massive mountain that would separate different sections of the map while still allowing movement between them. I also added another pond near the future clearing area and continued filling in the forests around it with the wrong. And it's a really nice mountain. This mountain looks really nice. I like how it came out. Eventually I realized something was missing. I didn't have a giant granite dome like what they would have in Yosemite. So, naturally, I built one near the park entrance. You'll see me do that here in a few seconds. I roughened up the mountain, and then after I painted this mountain, I start thinking maybe I should go grab make a large granite dome, which is what I start doing now. Right there, I'm working on a large granite dome. Now you may be wondering, this thing is humongous and nothing dome shaped. And you're right. But before I continued on that, I roughened up the mountains across the entire map to give them a more rugged appearance, although I accidentally messed up the waterfall in the beginning. In the process, I had to repair it afterwards for the granite dome itself. For the granite dome itself, I had to remove the trees covering it, smoothen the terrain, and carefully painted rock textures until I was satisfied, until I was like, this looks like what a granite rock dome would somewhat look like. It doesn't look exactly like a rock granite dome because there's only so much I can do with Jurassic World Evolution 2's terrain tools and modding capabilities. So then I moved into... But with that complete, I returned to the wetlands and I added ferns, bushes, smaller pockets of forest around the water to help bring the area, to life. So it looked a little more right in my head. So I could keep moving forward and not keep messing with it. But then I moved into my large open range, outlining the forest, clustering boulders together and creating natural looking rock formations throughout the landscape. I also added dirt along the rivers, ponds, and wetlands to help simulate kind of like gravel banks and not worn pathways, but like gravel banks. And it, as you can see, it does look natural. It looks very nice. It looks like a riverbank. The ponds look like they have a bank. It looks natural. It looks nice. I like how it came out. Finally, I went around the entire map placing boulders and making finishing touches wherever I thought they were needed. And this is kind of around where I realized I had used the wrong type of trees for the entire map. And when I realized this, I was crying on the inside. Like, I was so upset because I started taking pictures of the map. And then when I went to save, I was like, oh, crap. You can still see the redwood trees. You'll see them disappear here in a moment and change into alpine. But, like, you'll see me here in a second. I went back and replaced everything with proper alpine vegetation to make the park as accurate as possible. Because, of course, I aim for accuracy in these builds because I want to be as perfect as I can get it to be and look. And once all that was, yeah, you can see me replacing all the redwood trees with alpine trees. Once all that was finished, it was finally time to introduce the first animals to this beautiful landscape. 4 stegosaurs. And that brings us to the end of today's build. If you enjoyed watching me recreate Yosemite National Park in Jurassic World Evolution 2, let me know down in the comments what I should build next, and tell me what your favorite dinosaur is. Mine is a Tyrannosaurus Rex. I love the Tyrannosaurus Rex. That might seem like a basic thing, but that's my favorite. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye!
Everybody ask me how I know. I smiled at them and said she told me so. Everybody ask me how I know. I smiled at them and said she told me so. Everybody ask me how I know. I smiled at them and said she told me so.